Yeah. We did them for a while. Like I did them with some friends and then I did them with a buddy. And we did kind of like one of the shows was like kind of for newer growers and stuff like that. And then the other one was more like vet type stuff. But man, I have a hard time making time. I've got so many things going on that it's hard to sit down and do it once a week or even, once every other week.
Same. I'm starting to get back into it now, only because like this is what I do. Like,
Yeah,
you, on the oh yeah, we're live now. What's up, chat? What's up, y'all? Streaming it out. For some reason, OBS decided they wanted to start blocking Zoom, and I'll figure that out tomorrow. But we here with my brother, Terp Fiends Genetics, man. Go ahead and tell the people about yourself. Tell them where you're from. Tell them what you do.
for sure. Originally from Columbus, Georgia, transplanted to Denver around 2014. 18 years commercial growing, kind of whole house trap grows before I moved to Colorado and then started running big commercial grows for dispensaries and stuff. Got kind of sick of that around 2017, started my own seed company. And for the last decade, pretty much, I've sold my own seeds on terpfiend.com and through, other social media and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, and definitely pretty cool guy. Let y'all know when I started my grow journey, which it's not going well. It'll get better when I have more time to focus and start worrying about other stuff, and my pit bulls stop attacking my plants. Um, but when I started my grow journey, he was one of the first people to help me out, right? And he heard about like a bunch of local Atlanta growers and everything, and Georgia growers, and being a Georgia boy himself, he felt impelled as a good person. Impelled? Is impelled the word I'm looking for? Yeah.
Compelled, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. As a good person to send me hella genetics to spread like Johnny Appleseed around Atlanta. And just to let you know, a lot of people just started popping those seeds. So I got a few of them down OGCM Farms from Proper Doing. Said they just won the award with Proper Smoke. I gave him a few down there in
Yeah.
Miami. And yeah, a few bigger names that I ran across. I gave them some of your genetics, and they got a mark to the side, and they're gonna let me know how shit turns out.
That's awesome, man. Atlanta's always been kind of like a second home for me. Being from Columbus, there's not a whole lot to talk about in Columbus, Georgia. There never has been. And so for us, if we wanted anything, if we wanted a concert, if we wanted a party, if we wanted a good time, we usually went to Atlanta or to Athens. I
Mm-hmm.
had a ton of friends in the area for years and years that grew, and the same with around Athens, all the way back to the 90s, just kind of underground concert culture and weed culture and stuff like that. And to be honest, man, when I moved to Denver, I'd run into a lot of Southerners, but it was almost always Texas, Alabama. Like I didn't run into a ton of people from Georgia, which was always funny. And so, I always try to do what I can to kind of reach out around home, spread some seeds around. I am in some ways trying to get a little closer to kind of that Atlanta culture. But then, I start seeing shit about everybody getting wrapped up at sessions and stuff like that. And yeah, man, that's crazy. That stuff's crazy.
Yeah, and it's sad too, because like a lot of people, if people will know, like the guy that Tudor says he has some animosity with me, which is coming from me a few years ago, telling him, "Hey, I know that we had accidentally sold 500 and 1,000 tickets. That was not the goal. That was not what we were looking to do. But that should not be your goal, because running ads and doing stuff like that is just going to make it hot for everybody, and
Yeah.
it's going to take money out of everybody's mouth, because it's going to like put a halt to what we have going on." And it happened, and I spoke on it. Some people feel in their ways. It's fine. It's just like, at the end of the day, I fully believe nobody should go to jail for the plant.
Fully
I
agree.
don't want anybody arrested. I don't want anybody not able to feed their family. But I'm also been a very big advocate of just be smart. Like if you're not gonna be smart, you don't need to be around something that entitles you to be smart. Like if you need to be smart in this arena and you're not gonna be smart, and you do not be or need to be around it. And that when it comes to anything, it's like politics. If you're gonna be a dumbass in politics, why are you in politics? Like you're gonna fuck it up for everybody else. Maybe you shouldn't be here.
I've
But
told you before, man. We used to do sessions in Denver. This is kind of 2015, 2016. And to be honest, this was kind of before they had passed like a public use bill. So a lot of what we were doing was still kind of underground. But I'm going to be honest, man, the worst thing that would have happened to us was we would have got a bunch of tickets and we would have had a bunch of annoyances, like, putting on sessions in states that are still, completely illegal is fucking crazy. I mean, it takes brass balls, man. It takes big brass balls to even do that. And then when you see the kind of scale, like, I'm not gonna lie, man, like the kind of scale of what I saw, at least in the news, was, it's a wonder that didn't, would have gone off without getting popped. Like, that was a huge event. That was, even for somebody who put on events, that's a huge event. And, in a state like Georgia, man, they're still looking for people. There's still anything they can do to bust balls, they will. And it's just one of those things where, man, I always urge people to be careful, but it's one of those things where, like, things like that, you got to know that's eventually going to become a problem. Doing little things like what we did was always in like Airbnbs. So we would rent an Airbnb and it would be all connoisseurs, and we might have 50, 100 people. But like when you start getting into warehouses full of people, man, that's wild.
the small ones, that's always been my goal, right? When we did the warehouse, it was more like the people we were collabing with, the bigger. Sorry,
There you
shit just hit the back of my halls. Um, but the people we were collabing with, the Cali brands that are just getting to Atlanta for the first time because of us, they wanted to go big, so we went big, and they didn't disappoint. It was a beautiful thing. Like we didn't realize how much people fucked with our podcast.
yeah.
Because that's what we were. We were podcasters at first. We decided to do live podcasts. And then the vendors were like, man, y'all should let us be a part of it. And we were like, okay, that wasn't our goal. And then because I'd been to a bunch of sessions back in the day in Denver and shit, like traveling from Savannah, Georgia. And I always loved it. And I was like, man, I would love to host one of these. And that was back in the sorry, in the TI days, the titanium nail days.
Oh, right. I thought you
Yeah.
meant Ti getting wrapped up in trouble days.
Same days, yeah.
Yeah, about the same on the same
Yeah.
period. Yeah.
Yeah, it was Mr. Futuristic. Young LA was in this bitch. Hey man, shout out to Grand Hustle. But since you do have a limited time, we're gonna get to the nitty gritty. We ain't gonna piss on nobody titty. Um, so what actually got you into not just growing, but the genetics?
So my passions have always been flavor in general. And that kind of to me comes in two different forms, right? So to me, the truest representation of the live plant is a form of extract, is either, really top end rosin, really top end BHO, something like that. I love flower too, but like to me, to have a true live expression of the plant, those are kind of your best options. And then the genetic side, which kind of fuels that, of coming up with new flavors, coming up with things that are super new and unique and interesting. Um, Man, I'm gonna be honest. Like as soon as I see something's the new hype, I ask the first question: what's it taste like? If people aren't telling me what it tastes like, I usually assume somebody's just paying for a ton of good marketing. That's why you know about toad venom, but you don't know what toad venom tastes like. There's a ton of strains right now that everybody's trying real hard to push into an oversaturated market. And so it really comes down to the strains that you find out about are often the strains that people are spending the most on marketing. For me, my thing has always been flavor and trying to cast a wide net, find as many new and unique things as possible, and then narrow those down through breeding and kind of isolate those interesting flavor things that everybody wants, right?
And to speak on what you just said earlier, fucking wow. I don't even know why I threw fucking in there. That I'm from the South for real. um, when it comes to like Rising and good BHO, you see I've been giving people hell on my page. That's just because Douglas is funny to me. I love that kid. But I definitely agree that there's good BHO out there and it's great Rising out there. The good BHO is very limited because of the fact that, and I'm gonna be 100% because a lot of people like love challenging my knowledge because of where I'm from and my skin color, but you guys don't know how to purge. That is the biggest problem. Literally, so many different corners of America. I've tried BHO for damn near 20 years of my life, and so many people that glob poofs up right when it hits the heat.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's the main problem. You would never get that with rosin because there is no petroleum-based substance being injected into this cannabis to extract it. So it's not that there's like I've had some great fully purged BHO that was kicking ass. Okay, loved it. Put a whole sheet of that shatter in the blunt that time. It was the worst idea I've ever had. But that is great BHO. It's just you guys don't. A lot of people don't know how to purge correctly.
I think a lot of it too, especially in the South, is it's a little different because I know you do events and you travel a lot and do
And I've been
things like that
traveling in this industry
out in
for
the
like 20
South.
years.
So you see a lot of different stuff. But for the average consumer in the South, generally, if you're smoking oil at all, you're smoking whatever comes by. You know what I'm saying? You don't really have a wide selection. You usually just get whatever you can put your hands on.
Yeah.
Around
So
2016, I'd say 2014 to 2016, we saw the largest explosion in hash and BHO, not a lab, but like the largest explosion in techniques, in methods, and in purging, and all of that. Prior to 2012, nobody had a vac oven. Everybody was doing open blast and purging it however the fuck you could purge it.
I was on
So
my
it's like,
back porch
yeah, yeah, yeah,
blasting in Savannah,
yeah, yeah,
Georgia.
yeah. Right, right, right. And so around that time, we started to see, the entire technique of like high terpene full spectrum extract, where you actually have the terps and the crystals and it crashes out and all of that good fun stuff. Um, at its best, BHO is probably one of the best ways to capture live terpenes. Like live resin is probably one of the best expressions of live plant, live terpenes. But there's the huge issue that it's super dangerous. It's not a little dangerous. It's super
Super
duper dangerous.
dangerous.
Yeah, it's super dangerous. And I've known kids in Denver that had blown themselves up making BHO. Multiple people that had done stupid shit, had open butane, lit a candle or strike a lighter or something dumb, and the whole place goes up in flames.
Yeah. Oh, they got their
And
cigarette fucking lit.
yep, smoking a cigarette, just dumb shit. Just it's always stupid, careless shit.
Yeah, and that's why, cause like that's why I keep telling people like in any space there's not perfection. The heady space, the cannabis space. Like I used to be a festival kid, and I watched people fucking blast off on their feet at the front of a festival.
Yeah, yeah.
Papadocio's on stage, and you just see a big ass cloud of chunga, and I'm in that motherfucker like it's DMT. You guys are irresponsible. First off, you're blasting off on your feet. And so,
I feel like you're only a couple years behind. Like I was doing a ton of those sort of shows deep in the South around 02, 03, 04, 5, 6, 7, you know. And I used to tour with another band from the South that used to tour heavily in the South. And so, a lot of that like kind of jam band kind of stuff, like I spent a lot of time around that myself, you know.
Wait, dude,
Back in the day, the Wooks always had the best weed.
the Wooks
Like
always had
back
the
in the
best shit,
day,
bro.
the
Because
Wooks
they were rich
always had the
kids.
best weed.
Most Wooks are just rich kids who don't really have
Yeah, yeah,
worries that can go
yeah, yeah,
wherever they want to do and find the best shit. Because I
yeah,
was
yeah,
blessed. I'm blessed to have a life where God be like, you're gonna be in situations most people aren't gonna be in. So like I'm at that Interlocking Festival smoking with fucking Warren Haynes in the backstage and shit, like having the time of my life with the Allman Brothers, smoking some of the best shit I've ever seen. And my homeboy comes up, he's like, "Hey, dude, just found a ball of opium," and I'm like, "Hey, keep that to yourself."
right, right.
But like the Wooks just have it, bruh. But
Yeah,
um, to your point earlier, you're right. I like back when Tobin first dropped, I was blessed enough to like get some. Crazy expensive. The taste is is extremely enjoyable, right? You have a really minty, very pining forward taste with a light lemoning back on it, right? But to what you say, you are correct. Most people can't tell you what it tastes like. Most people didn't have that original cut of Toad Venom when it first dropped. They've had a lot of variations, a lot of stuff, a lot of crosses, Detroit runts, if you would. But when it comes to your genetics, because I'm not gonna lie, you gave me some crazy shit, bro. The Gassy Eddie and the Couch Slumper and shit like that. Like, what makes you cross the things you cross? Like, what makes you just sit there and be like, yeah, this one's gonna put their dick in the dirt?
yeah. Almost always flavor starts the each round. So when I go into a new round of crosses, it's almost with a theme. So if the gassy stuff, if I'm doing gassy profiles, I might throw some kind of oddities in there, but I'm almost always going to have stank, gas, chem, kind of that really, really nasty, heavy kind of similar profiles, right? But at the same time, you want unique. So you kind of have to find those ways that those other profiles, like the limonene, like the linalool, kind of like these other kind of unique combinations and make new stuff. So like if we only make gas and we only create gas strains and cross gas to gas, and I mean gas the profile. I'm not talking about gases and just good ass weed. If we're talking about gas and all we do is cross gas to gas, you're never going to find anything new or interesting, right? And
Yeah,
there's a million gas heavy strains out there.
like Kim
Everybody's got,
Dog.
yeah. I mean, there's tons of them. But if
Yeah.
you're going to find something new, you have to find those ways to make those profiles a little more complex, a little bit more unique, a little bit different. And that's the kind of stuff that people come back for, is the kind of profiles where you want to smoke it again, you want to roll it up one more time just to get those little nuances to the profile that you can't really pick up in one smoke, right?
Hmm. Definitely. And for the fans wondering, yeah, I just put this chair together and I didn't really have time to take all the plastic and shit off before I started. I was scrambling before I was filming.
No,
All
you're
right.
good, man. You're good. You're good.
But no, that's actually very insightful because, like, if you go to Terp Fiends website, which you really should do, you'll see
Terpfiend.com,
it.
TERPFI3ND.com.
Say it one more time.
TERPFI3ND.com.
You'll see a variety of strains, not like so there are a lot of people that I consult. Like I'm a brand consultant. I help people build their brands who are starting from small, no, like little money, everything. Most people, I tell you to pick with a strong three, right? Get you a sativa, get you a hybrid, and get you an indica, and run with those three. What I'm saying to you is he has a variety of genetics on his page, not to oversell genetics, because there's a lot of people oversell. Like you run into these dispos, they have 150 strains. These are already grown buds.
Right.
Those are bulk grows. Those are probably PGRs. These are genetics. Okay, he has gears, if you would. People in this space know what I'm talking about. If you're a first time person and you want to start growing, basically I'm saying he has seeds. So um
I would like to say that the big thing that I offer, that I don't see a lot of other people offer, is that I answer any question that I get. So any point in your grow that you have a question, you can hit me up. I'm happy to answer. No questions too big or too small. Like I have experience across the entirety of the cannabis world, from edibles to extracts to large commercial grid, the whole thing. And if there's ever a point where you have a question, whether it's about my gear, whether it's about other people's gear, I answer every question I get. So the thing that you have, your entire grow is nearly 30 years of expertise, so you're going to hit a point where you go, I don't know what to do here. I don't mind any question that I get. I don't mind helping people out with their grows. I try to help as much. I look at it like a doctor who has to put in clinic hours and who has to go to a doc in the box and go do hours every week to just, give back type of thing. I try to help anybody and everybody that comes to me with a grow question or with a seed question or with a hash question. And that's the big difference. So many of these breeders, you go to their website, you can't contact anybody when they don't pop or your seeds don't pop. There's nobody to help. If something weird happens, there's nobody to ask a question to. And that's a big deal in seeds because there's so many people just pushing genetics and they just want your money. They want you to go the fuck on, and they don't really care what happens after they've made their sale. And we try to help as much as we can. If you ever have a question, even if it's not about my gear, don't bother. Don't mind asking.
Exactly. And that's why I tell people it's a Southern thing. It's
It is.
just,
It
I
is.
just, I just honestly, like, even with my consulting, I haven't even started charging. I'm just like, I just want to help you, bro. Like, you got a family, don't you? Let's feed them. Like that's where I'm at with it. Like, I help people. I giving people advice, even the people that don't like me. I mentioned earlier, I gave them advice to the point where they got to where they're at, and to the network they have, and met the people they met, been on the podcast they've been on. Like, I'm always there to give a helping hand and show love to anybody and everybody that's actually serious about doing it. If you're in this game to play, get rich, take advantage of people or our community or the community. When I say the community, I mean the Black community, or just the cannabis community. I'm not game for you. I'm gonna tell you probably, like, find what's really for you that you actually love, so you don't have to try to game or scam people. Because if you have to game or scam people, you're not in your own arena, or you probably just need to work on yourself. You are in the arena. You probably are a genius in cannabis, like, but you're impatient. Patience is key. That's why I wanted to interview growers and stuff more, because nobody has more patience than somebody who grows it full photo the correct way. That's not another shot at Doug either, because there's space for the autoflower boys.
I will
I,
say this, man. You've followed my page on Instagram for a while. A lot of what I've done is I've been on the other side of a lot of these big grows. I've run big commercial grows. I've seen kind of how the sausage is made. And so there's a lot of things that the average consumer doesn't understand about how their weed is produced. And that goes whether you just buy weed off a plug or whether you're buying weed at a dispo, because a lot of that weed is coming from the same place. So much of the weed that's being diverted to middle America is walking out the back door of some legal grow somewhere and is just a rounding error on their tax sheet, right? And so I've seen it happen. And so the thing that most people don't understand is the things that happen to their weed before it gets to them are things that can hurt you. And we generally think that weed's super safe and that it's, there's not a whole lot that can happen that's going to cause you health issues. The reality is there's things that they spray on weed. There's chemicals that they use to deal with bugs. There's chemicals they use to deal with mildew and things like that that can hurt people. And we start to see now with this cannabis hypermesis and stuff like that, where people are legitimately, something's making them sick. They're going to a doctor and the doctor's saying it's the weed that made you sick. Well, having seen so much of how this stuff is produced, part of my thing on Instagram or on my platforms is to explain to people that what you don't know can hurt you. And the things that are happening in some of these huge weed grows, that weed ends up in everybody's, blunt, pipe, joint, whatever it is you smoke. But the reality is the way that it's produced matters. Clean weed matters. Contaminated weed does not belong being sold to people. Remediation is a myth. And that at the end of the day, you really need to know where your weed comes from, who grew it, and how they grew it. And if you can't, grow it yourself.
And that's one of my biggest points. I believe that um, if you are a smoker, you should at least grow one plant in your life. Understand that way you'll care more about what you put in your body than at that point. It's just like with food. Farmers pretty much care more about what they put in their body. People who grow their own food, who tend it, it means more to you. And so, like, people who are like, because I've been a trimmer, I've been on grows, like, I've helped out where I can help out. But let's just say I was busy learning something else at the time. So I wasn't really paying attention to learning the full what I need to do my own grow. So, because I was focused on music. But within saying that is like you'll appreciate it more. Like when you're around the actual element, you're around the industry more, you get picky. You just do. Like I'm just having to be somebody like the reason I got picky is because of Devin the Dude. Listening to Devin the Dude.
Mhm.
He had a song called Ultimate High, and I'm like, yeah, this mid ain't working out. And I met some hippie guys, and I was already hippie myself, like since a child. But and they were like, dude, put that down. Try this. And it was platinum cookies. And then I had a lemon haze. And then I was like, oh, this is what my life has been missing. Like that's 2009. I never looked back.
It's experience, man.
Yeah.
Eventually, you've seen better stuff than everybody else is showing you, right? Or you grow your own and you finally kind of see what the top looks like when you have a perfect plant, everything goes well, and you finally get to smoke it, and it's the most awesome thing ever. But
Yeah.
like you said, everybody should try that once just so you understand that it's not as easy as you think it is. And growing amazing weed is really tough. I hate to
Super.
say that because growing weed in general is easy. That's why there's so much of it out there. But to grow the honest best weed, man, it's so much tougher. And it takes years of just learning, working with the plant, learning your strains, learning what they need, learning how they feed, and then eventually dialing it in to the point where you get to see the best of what it can produce.
Exactly. Because that's where I'm blessed to meet people like you and like those guys I mentioned earlier. Their older brother went from being my tattoo artist to just starting to grow up out in Cali. He moved. Then his dad went and bought some land in San Francisco. He started growing, and like just through my travels and the people I hung out with, it always seemed to be like a grower, a grower, a grower, a grower. Even in like Savannah, Georgia, that's when Florida growers really started popping up, and so I had a bunch of Florida guys coming up who used to live in Savannah and rode bicycles with us. Like we were big on bikes. Um, Chain ring tatted on my wrist, but so and I saw it like they were sending me stuff in. Like I said, I was blessed. I'm getting like baller jars of BHO and stuff, and like at that time, the ecosystem of Savannah was very dab heavy, very I need the best only. Please don't sell me mid in the whole area. And that's what I'm trying to get people to understand. The South does have a good cannabis culture. It's just muddled in and I don't say this negatively, a hip hop smoker culture.
Right. It's just hype. Let's be honest, man.
Yeah,
It's
it's
just
hype.
hype and branding.
Yeah,
It's just hype and branding. Like there's been warehouse grows in downtown Atlanta for at least 30 years. There has been a grow culture in Atlanta for decades. Like for years and years and years when I was coming up, we didn't have a grow shop in Columbus. So like I would have to drive to Atlanta for anything that I needed. And so I would always run into other growers at the grow shop, and this was on off Old National for years and years and years. The only real good grow shop was off of Old National, and
Yeah.
so we would drop in there and we'd occasionally run into other growers and stuff and just kind of, you had to be real careful about talking shop, but like you would run into people and you knew there were big grows in Atlanta going all the way back to like the perp craze. Like there's always been big grows in Atlanta. So there's definitely a weed culture. It's just,
Dude,
it's,
like shout
it's
out to
just so
Doc.
much.
We got my bad.
No,
My
go
bad.
ahead. Go ahead, man. Go ahead. Go ahead.
We got somebody, East Point, Georgia, like East Point, Atlanta.
Yeah.
He was in High Times 1993
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
for his College Park Kush.
Yeah. 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 Yeah, like I
But
said, I've known friends all the way back to like the 90s, and even older people that I've talked to going all the way back to the 70s have told me like places like Atlanta and Athens have always had underground grow cultures. Like the closer you get to colleges, the closer you get to big cities, there's always going to be that. But
yeah,
like, Atlanta's always had a really solid weed culture. But like you said, man, what's become of it lately is it's just chasing what everybody else is hearing about. So it's like, I don't really care about flavors. I just want that new thing that everybody's talking about. And then what that really births is you can buy on wish.com toad venom packs, cookies packs. You can buy all of these Mylars, and then you just take whatever booth you've got from Middle Dispensary out of Denver or wherever the fuck it is, and then just throw whatever packs you can into it, right? So then you just really you're chasing a brand, but you're not chasing the actual brand or the quality or the thing. You just want something that has that name on the front of it. And what that means is
exactly.
that people eventually take advantage of that because they know you're going to pay for anything that's just got that name on the package. And so, you don't know if you're
Or
buying toad venom or just boo boo kush from the Midwest.
or even worse, you got those actual serious guys, like serious, like I know how to do this. I know what to do, aka the reps who go out there, actually form a relationship, get the actual strain, but it's 207.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. Now you out here paying 207 for hype.
Yeah. So
It's if it's the real
white
shit,
labeling in general is,
it's gonna blow your mind.
yeah.
But
White labeling in general is taking over the industry. So what you do is you don't have to have an actual grow. You just start a brand. So I just make whatever the brand is and I hype the brand up and I just have a connection to somebody who can give me product, right? So it doesn't
mm,
have to come from there, it doesn't have to come from their grow. They just get me product. And what I do is I just throw it in my product, in my baggage, market it up, and everybody's happy, right? Well, the reality is you've just got the same weed everybody else has got. It's just in a different package.
yeah. And then my least favorite, but understandable because I'm gonna preface it. If a big brand or a big known hype brand comes to a city and they've had a bad experience there where they didn't make a lot of money. They made a lot of money once, then they went with another promoter, didn't make a lot of money. So the thing they will do is if one person comes up and wants to buy everything, they will sell it to them. And that one person is gonna Pokemon card it. They're gonna do it like StockX. They're gonna really take that real, like, say Blue Zushi can, right? They're gonna buy it all before anybody else get here. They're gonna be the first person at the event or at the pop up. They're gonna buy it all, and then they're gonna put it on their whatever utility they use to contact their actual clientele, and they're gonna market the fuck up. And that way, that ruins, like, it's already ruined sneaker culture. It's killing Pokemon card culture right now because kids can't even go get Pokemon cards to play with. So, that's no attack to the Rippers because most of my friends are doing that. So, is that hypocritical for me to defend it because my friends are doing it? No, it's bad.
Man,
It's just bad.
hype kills more things than you'd imagine, man. And it's been
Yeah,
like that forever. Like once it's amazing, it's only going to be at the top for a little while, right? We've had this with in the last 2 decades of weed. I could name a dozen strains all the way back to OG Kush that everybody had to have. And now most places can't really run them anymore. Nobody cares. Like nobody cares, right? And it's one of those things that once it's hype and once it's huge, it's got about this long before nobody gives a shit about it anymore.
Yeah, I remember like in the country, like I went to Tuskegee University, right? So that's in the middle of Alabama. Not really the middle, but it's in fuck nowhere, Alabama, right? So it was somebody who had Blueberry Yum Yum. And this is like '06. This is right after the song came out. And it was real. It
It was
was
everywhere.
sticky. It was
Yeah, it was dank.
beautiful.
It was
It was
dank.
strong. And it was $40 a gram. Yes, it was crazy. But you paid it. And a lot of people like, I don't know if they did it in the other places, but you're from the South. They get a little mid, mix it with it, make
No,
it
I
go
never did.
longer.
I never did that. I just splurged and bought more. But like we did the same thing with the perps when the perps came through Atlanta super heavy. It was everywhere and it was awesome, but it was expensive. Like it was one of those where you'd be paying, you know, 30, $40 a gram for it if you could get it. And you never bitched because it was so tasty that you were just like, yeah, give me two of them. I don't care what it cost, you know.
Oh yeah,
Those,
and the
those days
Irene
are
days. Can't forget
yeah,
about the Irene days.
yeah.
Irene Kush, that was a fucking Atlanta staple. And that's what people don't understand. Like they want to try to take away the culture from Atlanta, but we created the word exotics when it came to cannabis. Like you would hear what's their name? Swag Surfer. The song Swag Surfer. That came out in like '06, right? I'm on hypnotic, exotic. We don't have to go no further than that. The polo on my body is like that in the song. Like Atlanta's been given to the cannabis culture for a long, long time. But we just get the like because of hip hop and because of the fact that we like to use slang to describe stuff like Zaza and all this, and gas and loud. It makes you feel like there's no culture down here, but no, it's just like we busy. We ain't got time to say long ass words sometimes.
Right. There's a lot of times too where that's where you can kind of tell the smoker, the heavy smoker from the connoisseur, because the heavy smoker, it's just good weed. But to the connoisseur, you're going to use all those ridiculously long names because that's how you identify what it really is you're smoking, right? So, like,
Hmm.
I've wasted so much of my brain space in memorizing genealogies and lineages from strains to the point where, like, these days I almost don't, you know, I couldn't tell you what the genetic lineage of toad venom is, but like every strain from the last 25, 30 years going all the way back to the 90s, there's so many of those strains that like I've memorized the names and the strains and the lineages because that's how they became what they are today. That tells the story of how we got to the strain that we have today. Because if it's just a fancy name that's on a mylar, man, everybody's got that. Everybody's got one of those. But like knowing those strains and the lineages, that's how we got to the point we're at. It took this strain and this strain and this strain to make what you're smoking now, right? And so knowing all of that, that's when you really get into that like I'm a weed nerd kind of thing. Is like you realize you know all these ridiculous lineages that you're gonna die and have never used in your entire life.
Yeah, because it's like I'm not one of those like I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm actually anti nostalgia when it comes to like judging the present off of the past,
Same.
but I'm also sad because I've been in this game with my lungs for so long that I do miss a good Jack Hara, a Durban Poison. You know what I'm saying? Like those were the strains that were around when my lungs just started enjoying the quality cannabis. Like, oh my God, blue cheese. My bad. Go
Now, let me tell
ahead.
you a funny story. Let me tell you a funny story about that because this is something we talk about a lot when we talk about flavors and we talk about memories and we talk about a lot of that kind of thing, right? So,
Hmm.
those memories that you have were a time and a place. And so often you can smoke those strains again today because a lot of those strains, Cheese and Jack Herer, a lot of those strains are still around. And while they're really good strains, that when you go back and smoke them today, you kind of a lot of times go, man, I don't really what was, what was it we were so cheesed up about? Like it wasn't that amazing. But the reality is it's a memory. And to you, it's how it smelled and where you were and that point in your life that where everything was kind of chill at the time and you had less of a tolerance. So every strain got you higher, and it's like a lot of those things make up your memory of a particular strain. It's more the time and the place and all the awesome that was going on in your life and all the things that you were going through and, hard times, good times, whatever it was. Those are the memories. But the actual strains, a lot of times we go back and smoke some of these, and there's a few exceptions, right? There's definitely OG Kush to me always holds up. The Chem strains always hold up. Like there's some strains that are still as valuable today as they were 20 years ago. But some of those strains we go back and we smoke and we kind of go, man, that just had to have been a time. It had to have been
Oh
the
no,
memory
I
and just
agree
the
with you.
vibe.
That's what I tell people about music. Be like, no,
Yeah,
that sounds good
yeah,
to you because your life was good then. But um no, that thing is like, and that happens all the time. The only thing, like, the reason why with the blue cheese is because the blue cheese stunk up my house in ways nothing ever has. But I went back and I was like, when I started with sour, and by the time the tail end of sour, when sour was disappearing, by the time it was disappearing, I was no longer impressed by it. It wasn't like we were transitioning into like more of the Gary Paytons, the Chem Dogs, the 9 pound hammer. Like we were really getting into like people were coming up with new strains at that point. And even some of those strains aren't around like that anymore.
right.
Like you're not gonna get a 9 pound hammer for somebody like that. You're gonna get a cross, you're gonna get probably an amazing cross.
Yeah. That's the other thing, man. So many of those strains make better parents than they were strains themselves. So there's, I talk about a lot of strains. Uh, Purple Punch is a good example. GMO is another great example. Like there's things about it as a plant that maybe aren't perfect, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then you make crosses with it and you get to really see where it shines, especially with Purple Punch is a great example. Purple Punch was a punching bag for a long time of
Long
bland,
time.
not very strong. It's kind of weak. And then people started crossing it out to other stuff and realized it's a cheat code to amazing resin. If you hit something to Purple Punch, almost everything I've ever had crossed to Purple Punch had some of the best, most amazing resin. And the fact that it's kind of a bland profile is neat because then what you can do is you can hit it to really terpy stuff and it picks up those terp profiles from the other stuff, but then it picks up that amazing resin from the Purple Punch. You know,
Mm-hmm.
uh, GMO is another good example. GMO is an amazing strain, but to grow it, oh, it's such a headache. 11 weeks, super stretchy. It never looks like it's finished. You could take it into 11 and 12 weeks and it's still just kind of throwing new growth and stuff. But it's one of those strains that I've seen some amazing crosses made with it that just really kind of shorten down the height, shorten down the flowering time. That's our job as breeders, man, is to take stuff that's good or that has really amazing traits and make something super unique out of it.
Yeah, because I thought I had it over here, but I think I gave my jar away. But Green Dog Cultivators has I think they have a good Kim Dog cross, if I'm not mistaken. I got to relook at the genetics, but yeah, that's what. And that time period wasn't that far away. That was like what, right before COVID, like
Yeah.
when those
Well, I mean,
strains were really
it all
hitting.
depends, man. So like, some of those strains, Chem 4, some of those Chem strains, those strains have been around to some
Oh yeah,
degree,
long time.
30 years,
Yeah,
25,
I'm
30
just
years.
talking about when they were like the hype,
Oh yeah, 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 yeah. I
the
see what you're saying.
the
Yeah,
the,
yeah,
the
yeah.
tuna can days.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's so funny too, man. That was such a short, like the whole tuna kept putting weed in tuna cans. I only saw a handful of companies really do it, and it seemed like one of those things that came and went super fast.
Well, yeah, because the tuna can days just so happened around the same time that diamonds really hit the market
Right.
back, and then CRC started happening.
Yeah, so that's 16, 17, 18.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it was just downhill from there for a second when it came to like the fact that cannabis culture looks the way it does now. I'm happy as fuck, but I'm still over here like, are we in real life? This is amazing.
keep in mind, man, this is all still the beginning of the
I
beginning.
know. I
Like
know.
once it goes federally legal, everything changes. And that's going to happen eventually just because there's so many states now that have some form of legislation. Like eventually they're going to gang up and just say, let's just legalize it. Um, states like Florida, if Florida went rec tomorrow, Georgia, Alabama, Tennessee would
They
all be
following
within
right after.
3 years.
Alabama just went full medical. Georgia's about to get flower medical soon. And that's what I'm saying. Like people like me who've been podcasting like 7 years, first smoke of the day, all the like grassroots influencers and grassroots people in this, and all the people who've been around it 30, 40, 50 years. Like we got to band together, stop all this infighting and arguing and taking shit too seriously, because once it gets very legal, boy, listen, the influence is going to come out of anywhere. The podcast is going to come out of everywhere. Everybody's going to start growing. The farms are going to pop up. Every state's going to have them. The booth is going to be everywhere. The worst taste, the worst takes is going to happen. Don't fret it. We have to have each other's back right now. We have to start literally every state. If you're in this industry right now, white label, black label, gray market, band together, have each other's back, promote each other, help each other, love each other, because they're gonna come in and they're gonna claim our space and they're gonna act like they started it all. I'm just
Bro,
gonna
it's
be
one of
honest
the
with you.
most transient industries. Like it's kind of comparable to the restaurant industry in a lot of ways, in that people could get into weed and are super into weed for maybe 3, 4, 5 years, and they move on to other stuff. And so it's almost always new people coming into the industry who don't have any skin in the game, who don't have any experience in any production parts of the industry or anything like that. And the bar to get into weed is so low that if you just got a homie with some weed, you can get into weed, right? So it's like you've got so many people who really only know cannabis as a product they buy from another person, roll up and smoke and get high. So many people don't get to that point where maybe you or I or so many other connoisseurs have gotten to, where you really see the top of the industry and the best of what's really being produced, right? And it's so what we need to do, all of us, is educate as much as we can, whether that's about growing, whether that's about techniques, whether that's just about knowing that there's shitty weed out there, right? And spreading that as a word to people who maybe are just getting in, just coming up. Oh, you think that's good? Let me show you something else. Sharing a little bit of everything and really being open to, maybe you don't know everything. Maybe you still have something to learn. Maybe there's still a little bit for life to teach all of us, even if you've been in this for 30, 40 years. We're all students, so we're all
Yes,
learning at all points.
yes. And I say that because, like, the character on my page is an asshole. My page, like, you see my page. I'm more of a let's clean up this community, let's clean up that, let's stop this, let's stop that. But I'm also about education. Like, I like to spread facts. I like people to enjoy life and be happy, as long as you're not impeding others' happiness, right? So, within saying that, like you just said, we're all students of life, of every game. The second you think you're a master, you failed. All right. So always learning. You can learn from the janitor. Like I said, at all times, the lowest person you look down on can still teach you a valuable lesson in life. So always be open to criticism, always be open to love, and always be open to, like, everybody ain't gonna sugarcoat shit for you. That's why that's why I present the way I present on my page. But in actuality, I'm a fucking teddy bear with a Glock. Um, and a pit bull. Because this guy, he won't calm down back there, bro. Hey, leave her alone.
That's got to be another Southern thing. I've always had pit bulls my entire life.
Yeah, I got a pit bull and a Jack Russell mixed with a rot. And
I've always had pit bulls since I was a kid.
I know she started it, but but um Another question I wanted to ask you that a lot of people aren't really hip to. A lot of people getting hip to pollination, but tissue cultures. The weed is the weed that good? You had to smell it
Yes,
on
yes,
your fingers. I've done
yes.
that. I knew exactly what that was. Like,
I've gotten
like
caught doing that a couple of times, man, because I do it without thinking about it. But yeah, this is some Girl Scout cookies from one of my good homies in Denver, Dr. Dank. And I'm gonna be honest, man, when I got to Denver, I expected there to just be amazing weed everywhere, and that was not the case.
that is
It took
not the
me
case.
years and years of living there and running grows to finally find some like underground growers that grew really small batch, really dank, focused on strains, focused on quality. And it took me a long time to find that, man. And I was working in commercial grows at the time. So you're around growers of all calibers and qualities. There's so much with California. I'm gonna get shit for this. California is kind of the same way.
Yeah,
California, there are really small pockets of amazing weed and shitloads of trash. Just
shitloads of trash
commercial. It's
because
so much outdoor booth and just it's shitty indoor commercial packs that it's unbelievable, man.
yeah,
It's
because I'm gonna be
unbelievable.
honest with you. When I go to Cali, I do not go to dispensaries at all. Like I hit up my homies, I hit up growers I know, I hit up brands I know that aren't like they have their own stores, but they're not in the other dispensaries. Like if they have their own store and I know them and I've worked with them, I'm gonna go get Doja every time. Doja's gonna hit like um and yeah, but it's so much like the underground rising boys and underground flower boys in Cali are doing some amazing shit like Humboldt Khan, fucking Lifted and Dina, and I could go on and I
Dude,
don't want to
Cali's
disappoint
hash
you
market has
guys.
always been like that, though.
Yeah,
California, the smart ones take all that outdoor and make hash with it. And that's
yeah,
why there's so much just flooded hash all the time in Cali. Because packs there get so cheap, but you can still make a decent living if you just hash it all, right? And
yeah.
so that's why California's hash market, in my opinion, has always been better than their flower market because let's be honest, man, it's easy to make really amazing hash, whereas creating top tier flour that actually can compete is way tough. It's a lot
Exactly.
tougher than people realize.
Because cause you know that sun grown gonna get the heavy rising pods, and it just made for some good shit. Like, cause I asked a lot of people like, when's the last time you actually smoked papaya flower? I know you dabbed a lot of it.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
yeah,
Oh, Tropicana cookies is another good example. Like
yeah.
I don't know if I've ever had Tropicana cookies as flour. Skittles is kind of the same thing too. I don't know if I ever really had amazing Skittles flour, but I've had
Look,
tons of hash, like
I
Skittles
think
hash.
this may be. I got this from Sour Ways. This is Skittles. It was crazy.
Yeah.
This is probably one of the craziest Skittles I've had. But to your point, this Neon Z, this Skittles right here from Hang Loose Farms and Washed LA. It's beautiful, bro. It's some of the best rides that I've had in my life.
Yeah, dude,
And
I found the pineapple sorbet. So that's one of the ones that I worked with. It's a Skittles cross, but it's also got some pineapple tie in it. So it
mm-hmm,
comes off as like this super candy pineapple, but then it's got this almost like suntan lotion. It reminds me of being at the beach with a fruity drink. Like it's got like a little like coconut kind of super tropical fruits type of thing, but it is really one of those that as a live extract you just want to dab it again and again and again just to grab those little nuances. And Skittles is another great example of a strain that I think makes better crosses than it itself is often shown. Like you see Skittles and it's usually really good, but then you see some of the Skittles crosses people have done with that strain and they're
yeah,
just unbelievable.
crazy. That Z Banger from fucking Wizard Trees. Um, yeah, that's actually a crazy one. OGCM Farms got a great Skittles cross too. Um, but that Terp Hog Skittles is a crazy Skittles. It's always gonna be top notch. Like Much love the Terp Hogs, but
I've worked with a bunch of their seeds. They're always awesome.
yeah, definitely, man, and that's why. Oh yeah, tissue culture.
Mm, tissue culture. So short answer, it's not a silver bullet. There's some pros and some cons to tissue culture. Tissue culture as a whole is a great way, if it's done properly, to isolate and to clean genetics to the point where if you've got problems like bacteria or viroids or, you know, certain things, you can get clean samples from that. But tissue culture is not the same as growing a clone. Tissue culture plants usually grow much slower. They're not as vigorous. They tend to not be kind of on the same production level as, say, like a healthy clone. But what tissue culture is really good for is having backups for your genetics, being able to take genetics that maybe have problems or issues and produce clean cuts from those that you can then take, cuts down the road. I worked around one of the largest tissue culture labs of cannabis related in the country at one point. And so we saw a lot of those tissue culture plants grown all the way out to flower. They're usually a lot slower. They're a little bit kind of finicky. But it is a really neat thing to be able to take, plants that have problems and things like that and get clean cultures and samples from them.
Exactly. And I just wanted to get that out there for the people who may not understand or may not ever heard of it. That it's a lot of things that are going on back, you know, behind the doors in cannabis and in grows and in genetics that are like ensuring that a lot of strains do survive because we've lost a lot of genetics over time. Like oh, there was this guy in Florida. He was running it just started with an M, but like he was running his own strain. It was going nuts. Then he did time, and when he did time, it was lost. Like when a lot of growers get a key strain and it's big in just that area, and they get busted, that strain is gone.
Sour diesel is a good example. Like sour diesel, if you had like legit sour diesel in '06, there's a chance you've never seen that plant again since then. And
Ever.
so it's really one of those where, like, if you really love a strain, the best thing you could do is spread it, hand it to other people who grow, and make seeds with it, because seeds are tomorrow's hype strain, right? So anytime I see people that have some great strain and they want to, they want to keep it around, but at the end of the day, like, if you something happens to you and you're the only person with that strain, it's very easy for that to be gone, never seen again. And so,
Exactly.
giving that out to people, giving it to other growers, meeting people online, spreading your strain around, that's the real way to have it here long term, so that we're not talking about what we're talking about and shit's extinct now and you can't really find it anywhere and it's not the same as it used to be, or, there's a dozen different problems. But yeah, man, that's a huge issue.
Exactly. And I was blessed enough like last Turk Basil to run into a lot of like legacy growers and they were like, yeah, this is a cut from 2009, 2012, Piv, some fucking Kim Dog from back then and some Gorilla Glue. And it was beautiful, man. Like they've kept those like mothers and been cloning it for a long time. And it was amazing to like taste that again. And but to your point, um, hey boy, leave it alone. To your point, um, the Gorilla Glue definitely had me like high, but the nostalgia wasn't there. Like it was not the same. It was like chilling on the beach in Savannah, smoking a joint of Gorilla Glue. It just wasn't there. But like a lot of those legacy strains do deserve the love because, like you said, you're not gonna get that same feeling. Probably not gonna find that same strain, but you should actually enjoy what's going on today because a lot of this new stuff and a lot of the genetics. I'm not even just talking about just the hype strains are like quality, very quality.
Well, it's just preservation, man. It really is about having it, because all of these, we all have a strain that we love. There's at least one that got away. If you've been doing this long enough, there's at least one you wish you had again today. And, that's one of those things that I always try to tell people is like, I'm a big fan of open source genetics. So what that means is I sell seeds, but I encourage people to take those seeds and make other seeds with them and create new varieties for themselves, because that's the best way for a strain that you love to be here 5 years, 10 years down the road in any capacity, right? Is to breed it, is to spread it, is to share it. And so I support people breeding with my gear. If you bought seeds from me and wanted to go make your own seeds with that, I fully support that. And I generally only try to work with other breeders when I run other people's stuff who kind of have the same philosophy of they're not going to get upset. You can share whatever you have and you can spread whatever you have. And, that's the way for your strain to be here long term. Because if it's just a cut and only one or three or five people have it, there's so many things that could go wrong. You could get a viroid. You could have, all kinds of problems with just lose. I lost a whole set of clones one time because I used a rooting, like I usually dust my roots with inoculation powder, like bacterial inoculation powder. And I had started using a new one, and it's called Recharge. And it's amazing. It's a really good product, but it has powdered molasses in it. So I didn't really think about this. I did kind of notice it smelled like fresh cookies, but like I didn't really think when I went to put it on the roots. And I lost legacy cuts that I can't ever get back. Things happen, shit happens. And the more people that have a cut, the more chance that it's going to make it long term and actually be here for, years down the road.
Exactly. And I know you said you had an hour, but I'm glad you gave us more.
Oh, you're good, man. You're good.
Oh, good. Because we're gonna talk again. We're
Yeah,
definitely
for
gonna do
sure.
this
For
again.
sure, for sure. I really
And
appreciate it, man. I do want to say, I really wanted to kind of get back to touching people back home and getting in more contact with people around, the deep south. I always love when people buy seeds, and I, kind of think to myself, I see where they're going. So I'm always happy when they're, going to those parts of the world that maybe things aren't as cool as they are other places. But I very much appreciate you, and just anybody from down south, I always appreciate back home. It's always been fun to get back when I can. And it's very strange because Denver and Columbus, Georgia are two totally different parts of the world. But like there's nothing quite like being back home, and like the South is an indelible part of my life, and it goes everywhere with me. But I always appreciate reaching out to people back home in any way, size, shape, or form that I can.
hey, bro, and I love it, bro. Columbus, it means a lot to me. Got to go through Columbus to get to Tuskegee from where I'm from, and some of my best friends. He just left. He's annoying, but he's from Columbus. He was the captain of our football team at Tuskegee. But before we get out of here, let them know where to follow you at. Let them know once again your website
Yeah, for
and
sure.
how to reach you.
Yeah, so the best place to find me is at my website. It'll always be up, www.terpfiend.com, TERPFI3ND.com. The best place to find the rest of my content is on Instagram, TERP underscore FI3ND. I also have a flower page. You can find all of my links there. I'm also on Reddit and a couple other social pages. I had a page on Twitter for about a year, and I can't believe they shut my page down on Twitter. Then no posts, nothing got taken down. Just one day I logged in and it wasn't there anymore. But most of the socials I have a page on. But the best place to get me is on the website.
All right. And you know it's your boy Digi, your favorite grandmother fucker. Tell your auntie I need my drawers back. And that's it for tonight, man. We appreciate you. And y'all have a good evening, man. Be blessed. Love. All right, brother.
Thank you, sir. I'm gonna go play this Xbox, man. You have a good evening.
Oh yeah, I'm about to get on the PlayStation.
I've been playing. I've been playing Marathon.
Oh yeah. Hold on. I think it's still streaming. Let me make sure the stream off. It's in there like, dude, you didn't end it.